The massive starship Defiance hung in the cold emptiness of space, its gleaming hull reflecting the distant starlight. Captain Hyun Park stood motionless, her dark eyes fixed on the holographic star charts that shimmered before her. The bridge was quiet, filled with the soft hum of advanced computer systems and the barely perceptible movement of trained personnel. Outside the ship's reinforced windows, the universe stretched infinite and dark. Distant star clusters twinkled like scattered diamonds, each potentially hiding unknown threats. The Defiance wasn't just a ship, it was humanity's silent guardian, positioned at the edge of explored space. Lieutenant David Kim adjusted some readings on his console, his fingers moving with practiced precision. He knew something was coming. Intelligence reports had been clear: the Stellar Dominion was preparing a massive offensive that would threaten dozens of peaceful planetary systems. Humanity couldn't let that happen. "Captain," David called out, his voice steady, "we're detecting unusual energy signatures at the sector's outer perimeter." Hyun Park nodded, her expression unchanged. She had seen countless battles, fought in conflicts that would never make it to history books. This mission was different. This was about protecting civilizations that couldn't protect themselves. The ship's advanced sensors began scanning the surrounding space, mapping every minute detail. Quantum computers processed information faster than any human could comprehend, creating complex predictive models of potential enemy movements. The Defiance was more than a warship, it was a technological marvel that represented humanity's most advanced engineering. Young crew members worked silently, each understanding their critical role. Rebecca Lee, the weapons specialist, checked and rechecked targeting systems. Michael Park monitored communication channels, listening for any hint of enemy transmission. Every person on board knew the stakes. Humanity had learned hard lessons from previous interstellar conflicts. They were no longer naive explorers but calculated defenders of their own destiny. The Defiance represented years of technological development, strategic planning, and an unwavering commitment to protect their species and its allies. The ship's artificial intelligence, integrated seamlessly with human operators, began running potential battle scenarios. Thousands of simulations calculated every possible engagement strategy, looking for advantages that traditional military thinking might miss. This was warfare in the 23rd century, a dance of technology, strategy, and human intuition. Captain Park moved closer to the main viewing screen. Something was changing in the distant star field. The subtle shift in stellar radiation, the microscopic distortions in spacetime, experienced eyes like hers could read these signs like an open book. "Prepare defensive protocols," she said quietly, her command cutting through the bridge's ambient sounds. No panic, no excitement, just pure, calculated readiness. The crew responded instantly. Weapon systems charged, shield generators hummed to life, and navigation computers plotted potential escape and engagement routes. Every system on the Defiance was designed for one purpose: survival and victory. Outside, space seemed to ripple. Something was coming. The vast emptiness that had been silent moments ago now carried a subtle tension, like a drawn bowstring waiting to release its arrow. Humanity's most advanced warship was about to face an unknown enemy, carrying the hopes and protective instincts of an entire species. Captain Hyun Park watched and waited, her hand resting lightly on the command console. Whatever was approaching would soon discover that humanity was no longer a species to be underestimated or conquered. The Defiance was ready. The universe held its breath. The first alien vessels appeared like razor-sharp crystalline structures cutting through the darkness of space. They moved with an eerie precision, their surfaces reflecting and refracting light in impossible geometric patterns. The Defiance's sensors immediately tracked their approach, calculating trajectories and potential weapons signatures. Lieutenant Rebecca Lee's hands moved across her console with lightning speed. Her eyes narrowed, watching the incoming data streams. "Multiple contacts," she reported, her voice calm and controlled. "They're not attempting communication. Weapons are charging." The alien ships moved in a formation that seemed more like a living organism than a military strategy. They twisted and turned, their connections fluid and unpredictable. Traditional military tactics would have failed against such movement. But the Defiance was not a traditional warship. Captain Hyun Park watched the holographic display, her mind racing through potential scenarios. The quantum targeting systems began calibrating, adapting to the alien ship's unique movement patterns. Each second counted. Each calculation could mean the difference between survival and destruction. Defensive shields at maximum, David Kim announced, his fingers dancing across multiple interfaces. The ship's AI was working in perfect synchronization with human operators, processing information faster than any biological brain could comprehend. The first energy weapon burst from an alien vessel, a brilliant stream of plasma that cut through space like a molten blade. The Defiance's adaptive shield system didn't just block the attack, it studied it. Quantum algorithms immediately analyzed the weapon's frequency, composition, and energy signature. In less than a microsecond, the ship's defensive systems created a perfect counter-frequency. The next plasma burst would be significantly less effective. This was warfare in the 23rd century, a constant dance of technological adaptation. Target acquired, Rebecca called out. The ship's quantum cannons charged, their blue-white energy building to a spectacular crescendo. When they fired, it wasn't just a weapon discharge, it was a precise surgical strike designed to disable, not just destroy. The first alien vessel simply ceased to exist. One moment it was there, a complex crystalline structure of technological marvel, and the next, nothing. Fragments of exotic materials scattered like dust in the solar wind. The remaining alien ships seemed to pause, as if processing the sudden loss of their companion. Captain Park knew this momentary confusion was their greatest advantage. "Continue targeting," she commanded. No emotion, just pure strategic calculation. The battle became a complex ballet of technology and strategy. Alien ships twisted and turned, trying to find weaknesses in the Defiance's defensive systems. But each movement was anticipated, each potential attack calculated and countered before it could be executed. Michael Park, the communications officer, monitored the electromagnetic spectrum. No traditional communication was happening, but information was being exchanged. The aliens were learning, adapting, just like the human crew. Another alien vessel disappeared under the Defiance's precise weapons. Then another. The ship moved not like a traditional warship, but like a living, thinking organism. Its movements were unpredictable, its responses instantaneous. The remaining alien ships began to retreat. But retreat, in this context, was a complex term. They were regrouping, analyzing, preparing for a different approach. Humanity had shown they were not a species to be easily conquered. Captain Hyun Park allowed herself the slightest smile. The first engagement was complete. But the real battle was just beginning. The universe watched, silent and cold, as the Defiance continued its mission, protecting civilizations, defending humanity's right to exist among the stars. The Defiance's bridge became a symphony of calculated chaos. Captain Hyun Park's strategy was unlike anything the alien fleet had encountered before. She would use the ship's gravitational manipulation technology to create localized spacetime distortions, effectively turning the battlefield into an unpredictable maze. David Kim's fingers flew across quantum computational interfaces. Complex algorithms mapped potential dimensional shifts, creating a three-dimensional chess game where the Defiance played against an entire alien armada. Each movement was a mathematical precision, each shift a strategic masterpiece. Lieutenant Rebecca Lee monitored weapon systems. The quantum cannons weren't just weapons, they were extensions of the ship's intelligent design. When they fired, they didn't just destroy. They analyzed, adapted, and learned from each discharge. The alien ships began experiencing strange navigational anomalies. Gravitational waves created by the Defiance twisted their formation, pushing some vessels into unexpected trajectories. What seemed like random movements were carefully calculated disruptions designed to break their communication and coordination. Michael Park intercepted alien communication signals. Though they used complex encryption, the ship's AI rapidly decoded their transmission patterns. Each intercepted message provided more strategic insights, revealing the aliens' potential next moves before they could execute them. Space itself seemed to bend around the Defiance. The ship moved with an almost organic fluidity, creating pockets of altered physics that confused and separated the alien fleet. Traditional warfare rules no longer applied. This was a new kind of combat, intelligent, adaptive, unpredictable. One by one, alien vessels found themselves isolated. Their complex crystalline structures, once symbols of technological superiority, now became traps. The more they tried to regroup, the more the Defiance's gravitational manipulations worked against them. Captain Park watched the holographic display, her eyes calculating every potential outcome. She wasn't just fighting a battle, she was conducting a complex scientific experiment where technology and strategy merged into a single, powerful weapon. The ship's artificial intelligence began predicting alien fleet movements with increasing accuracy. Each prediction was more precise than the last, learning from millisecond interactions and quantum-level data exchanges. The aliens were fighting against an opponent that could think faster than they could react. Weapon systems on the Defiance charged with an ethereal blue-white energy. When they fired, it wasn't just destruction, it was a surgical strike designed to disable critical systems. Each shot was a message: humanity was no longer a species to be underestimated. The battlefield transformed. What had started as a traditional space combat scenario became a complex dimensional chess match. The Defiance wasn't just fighting, it was rewriting the rules of engagement. Alien commanders watched in growing confusion as their fleet became systematically dismantled. Their technological superiority meant nothing against an enemy that could manipulate the very fabric of spacetime. Each attempt to regroup was met with another unexpected dimensional shift. Captain Hyun Park remained calm. Her crew moved with a synchronicity that seemed almost supernatural. They weren't just operators, they were an integrated system where human intuition and technological precision merged perfectly. As the battle continued, it became clear this was more than a military engagement. It was a demonstration of humanity's evolutionary approach to conflict. No brute force, no unnecessary destruction, just pure, calculated intelligence. The remaining alien vessels began to retreat. But retreat, in this context, was a complex concept. They were running from something they couldn't understand, facing an opponent that seemed to exist beyond their comprehension. The Defiance had done more than win a battle. It had sent a message to the universe: humanity was here, and they would defend themselves with every ounce of technological and strategic innovation they possessed. Space returned to its cold silence, with only the faint remnants of the battle, scattered fragments and quantum energy signatures, telling the story of humanity's remarkable breakthrough. The alien fleet's main battle group converged like a massive, crystalline nightmare. Hundreds of ships, each more complex and deadly than the last, surrounded the Defiance. They believed their numerical superiority would crush the human vessel. They were wrong. Captain Hyun Park stood perfectly still, her eyes reflecting the holographic battle display. Every system on the ship was at maximum readiness. The crew moved with a precision that bordered on telepathic communication, each member understanding their role without a single spoken word. Quantum cannons charged with an energy that seemed to bend the very fabric of space. Lieutenant Rebecca Lee's fingers danced across targeting systems, her movements sharp and calculated. The weapons were no longer simple guns, they were intelligent systems that could predict, adapt, and destroy with surgical precision. The first wave of alien attacks came like a storm of razor-sharp energy. Plasma bursts that could melt entire planetary shields crashed against the Defiance's adaptive defense systems. But instead of simply blocking, the ship's technology analyzed each attack, creating instant counter-frequencies that neutralized the incoming weapons. David Kim monitored the quantum computational systems. The ship's artificial intelligence was working at speeds beyond human comprehension, calculating millions of potential scenarios each second. Every alien movement was anticipated, every potential attack understood before it could be executed. Michael Park intercepted and decoded alien communication channels. What he discovered was more than just military transmissions, it was a complex network of fear, confusion, and growing desperation. The aliens were realizing they were facing an opponent they couldn't understand. The Defiance moved through space like a living weapon. Its movements were not just defensive but provocative. Each shift in position was a strategic invitation, drawing alien ships into carefully prepared kill zones. What seemed like random maneuvers were actually precise tactical traps. Electromagnetic pulse charges began to discharge. These were not traditional weapons but quantum-entangled munitions that could simultaneously affect multiple ships. Entire sections of the alien fleet found their systems failing simultaneously, creating cascading failures that spread like a technological virus. Captain Park's strategy was brutally simple. She wasn't just fighting to destroy. She was fighting to send a message. Each weapon discharge, each tactical movement was designed to demonstrate humanity's technological superiority. This was more than a battle. This was a statement. The alien fleet began to break apart. Their once perfect formations dissolved into chaos. Ships that had seemed invincible moments before now drifted helplessly, their advanced systems rendered useless by the Defiance's intelligent weaponry. Weapon systems on the human ship combined technologies in ways the aliens could never have predicted. Quantum targeting merged with adaptive shield technologies. Energy weapons carried complex algorithmic payloads that could disable entire ship systems with a single discharge. As the battle reached its climax, the Defiance seemed to become something more than a ship. It was a living representation of human innovation, of a species that refused to be conquered. Each system worked in perfect harmony. Biological intuition merged with technological precision. The final moments of the confrontation were swift and decisive. The remaining alien vessels tried one last desperate attack. But by then, the Defiance had already calculated and prepared their complete destruction. It was less a battle and more a comprehensive demonstration of technological superiority. One by one, alien ships disappeared. Some exploded in brilliant displays of exotic energy. Others simply ceased to exist, their complex systems completely neutralized. The battlefield became a testament to human engineering and strategic thinking. Captain Hyun Park watched the final moments with a calm that bordered on indifference. This wasn't about victory in the traditional sense. This was about protecting humanity's right to exist, to expand, to survive among the stars. As the last alien vessel was destroyed, a profound silence fell. The universe seemed to pause, processing what had just occurred. The Defiance emerged not just victorious, but transformed, a symbol of humanity's potential, of its ability to face the unknown with intelligence and resolve. Space returned to its cold, dark emptiness. But everything had changed. The Defiance moved through space, its hull marked with the scars of battle. Distant star systems watched the ship's slow return, a silent witness to humanity's extraordinary victory. Captain Hyun Park stood on the bridge, her reflection visible in the reinforced windows, a mix of exhaustion and quiet satisfaction etched on her face. Damage control teams worked silently, repairing systems and running diagnostic checks. The ship showed signs of intense combat, quantum energy burns, microfractures in the outer hull, residual electromagnetic distortions. But it was alive. More importantly, it was victorious. Lieutenant David Kim compiled the battle records. Each data point told a story of technological innovation and strategic brilliance. The alien fleet's complete destruction wasn't just a military achievement. It was a message to the entire galaxy about humanity's capabilities. Rebecca Lee monitored the ship's weapon systems, which continued to recalibrate and adapt even in the aftermath of battle. The quantum cannons hummed with potential energy, like sleeping predators ready to awaken at a moment's notice. They had become more than weapons, they were living technological organisms. Michael Park worked on communication logs, preparing detailed reports for military command. The transmission he was drafting would become a historic document, proof that humanity could defend itself against seemingly insurmountable odds. The ship's artificial intelligence continued processing battle data, learning from every microsecond of the conflict. It was studying the alien technology, understanding their weaknesses, preparing for potential future encounters. Continuous adaptation was humanity's greatest strength. Outside, the universe stretched infinite and dark. Distant star clusters twinkled, seemingly celebrating the Defiance's return. Each light represented a potential civilization that would now remain safe because of this single ship's actions. Captain Park's transmission to command was brief and direct. No unnecessary words, no dramatic descriptions. Just pure, factual reporting of the mission's success. Enemy fleet neutralized. No significant human casualties. Mission accomplished. The crew moved with a quiet pride. They weren't celebrating, they were professionals who understood the weight of their responsibility. Each person knew they had done more than fight a battle. They had protected countless potential civilizations from destruction. Navigation systems plotted the course home. But home was more than a physical location. It was a concept, a promise of safety, of continued exploration, of humanity's right to exist among the stars. The Defiance represented that promise. Medical teams conducted final health checks on the crew. Minor injuries were treated, psychological evaluations completed. The human element was just as important as the technological one. Each crew member had performed beyond expected parameters. As they approached human-controlled space, communication channels began to light up. Initial reports from distant monitoring stations confirmed the mission's success. The Stellar Dominion would think twice before threatening human-aligned systems again. The ship's quantum computers began compiling a comprehensive analysis of the battle. Every weapon discharge, every tactical movement would be studied by military strategists for years to come. This wasn't just a victory, it was a learning opportunity. Captain Hyun Park allowed herself a moment of reflection. The battle represented more than military success. It was a demonstration of human potential, our ability to adapt, to innovate, to face the unknown with intelligence and resolve. Distant space stations began preparing for the Defiance's arrival. Repair teams, medical units, and intelligence officers were already mobilizing. The ship carried more than just a crew, it carried the hopes and protective instincts of an entire species. As they approached the first human-controlled space beacon, a sense of calm settled over the bridge. They had done what needed to be done. They had protected those who could not protect themselves. They had shown the universe that humanity was not to be underestimated. The Defiance continued its journey home, a silent guardian carrying the stories of its incredible battle. The universe watched, cold and vast, but somehow feeling smaller in the face of human determination. Another star system was safe. Humanity had spoken. And it had spoken with the language of innovation, strategy, and unwavering resolve.